Hello, in this video, we're gonna build up some heat. We're gonna move and just use our muscles and get really strong. I'm gonna be on my knees for part of this, kneeling with a blanket folded under my knees. If that's not comfortable for you, pause the video, go grab a chair, because I'll show you options for how to do that without having to be on your knees. All right, let's get started. Either have a blanket to pad your knees for kneeling or have a chair if you don't want to be on your knees. I'll give both options for that. We're going to start by just connecting with our breath first before we start building up some heat. So you can put both hands on your belly or one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. If it's comfortable for you, just go ahead and close your eyes. And just connect with your breath and notice your belly and your chest moving. A lot of us breathe shallow, just in our chest without using our belly. So make sure both are moving. Just take a couple of slow, deep inhales and exhales. Notice both hands moving. And while you're here, just notice your feet connecting to the ground, really root down. And then take your hands right at your ribs, right here. So thumbs in the back, fingers towards the front. Just kind of cradle your lower rib cage right here. And then take a few breaths and just notice your ribs expanding and contracting. We're just connecting with our breath before we start moving. Notice what that feels like. Maybe even feel your breath in your back. Feel your back expanding, maybe your shoulder blades. Collarbones lifting up. And then go ahead and release your hands. Do a little shake and let's start moving. I always like to connect with my breath before I start yoga. So come to the top of your mat into mountain pose. Your feet are about hip width apart and parallel to each other. Make sure all 10 toes are pointing straight forward. We'll start with a couple of sun breaths just to get that movement going and linking that movement with our breath. So root your feet down, and before we start moving, plant your heels into the mat, and then without actually moving your heels on the mat, energetically feel like you're squeezing your heels towards each other, but don't actually move them. And notice how that just activates the whole inside column of your legs, the inner thighs, maybe even lifts up your pelvic floor a little bit. Keep those legs really engaged. And then on an inhale, circle sweep your arms up overhead. Exhale, bending your knees, forward fold, as far as is comfortable for you. Inhale, hands on shins or thighs, come to a half lift. Flat back, your gaze is straight down on the mat, and then pinch your shoulder blades slightly together so that you open up across your chest. Bend your knees, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, circle sweep your arms up overhead, and exhale, hands back down to hips. An alternative, if you have shoulder issues, is instead of sweeping your arms up sideways, you can bring your hands up and down through heart center. So give that a try if you'd like to. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, bending your knees, forward fold. Just drape your body over your thighs. And take a moment here and just feel your low back, feel your whole back stretching out. Your gaze is just right down on the mat by your feet. Take a deep breath in. Feel that breath that we connected with at the beginning. Full exhale. And then on an inhale, hands on shins or thighs. Lift up to that half lift. Flat back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and glide them down towards your tailbone. Exhale, forward fold, bending your knees. And then inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale back down to mountain pose. So now we're going to get moving. I'm going to first show you an alternative for using a chair. Otherwise, I will be kneeling on my knees. We're going to do side stretches and add an easier version of side plank to this. So using a chair, have a chair out towards your side where you could just barely reach out and touch it with your fingertips. Come to mountain pose again. Engage those legs. Think about energetically squeezing your heels towards each other without actually doing that. What we'll do is inhale, arms up overhead, and then exhale your right hand down and just a nice side stretch. Reach that left arm up towards the sky. Inhale, both arms up again, and then exhale, bring that left hand down to the top of that chair, and then we'll take that right leg up. And then inhale back up and exhale down. So that's the version with a chair. Otherwise, I'm going to be doing this kneeling. So you choose which one you want. If you're comfortable on your knees, it's a little bit more core work, but you choose the version that works best for you. So kneeling, my knees are right under my hips. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, arms down. Take your right leg and out into gate pose. So your right leg is going to be out and your foot is planted on the floor. Inhale up. And then exhale that right hand down towards that left leg. Just let it slide down. We're just going for a nice side stretch here. Really reach that left arm up towards the sky. Maybe look up at it. Inhale both arms up. And then exhale either your hand to the chair or your left hand to the mat. Really reach that right arm up towards the sky and then lift that right leg up. This is a version of a side plank. Then foot back down, inhale back up. And exhale back down to the right side for that wonderful side stretch. And pause here for a minute. Take a breath and just really feel that stretch. Maybe from your hip all the way up through your ribs and into your armpit and your upper arm. Full breath in and full breath out. And then inhale both arms up. And exhale that left hand back down either to the chair if you're standing or to the ground if you're on your knees. And then lift that leg up again. Take a breath. It's easy to hold your breath when you're holding these. Foot down, inhale back up, and then we'll switch to the other side. So I'll pause here for a minute. If you are using a chair and doing this standing, switch your chair to the other side. Make sure it's somewhere stable where it won't slide out. So we'll come back to this. We'll start right here on both knees down. Just reconnect with our breath. Inhale, arms up overhead or through heart center. And exhale back down. This time, if you're standing, just stay with both feet to the ground. Otherwise, take your left foot out to the side into gate pose. If you're standing up using a chair, just keep both feet planted on the ground underneath you in that mountain pose with the chair just where your fingertips will reach. Inhale, both arms up overhead. And then exhale to the left, and we're just going for a side stretch. So you can just do this standing, keeping both feet to the ground. Really feel that stretch. Inhale, both hands up. If you're on a chair, go ahead and exhale your right fingertips to that chair. Otherwise, if you're kneeling, bring that right hand all the way to the ground, and then lift up that left leg. Take a breath. Inhale, foot down, both arms up overhead, and exhale down to the left into that side stretch again. Just really feel that here. Notice where on your whole side, on the right side, that you feel this stretch through your body. Look up if it's comfortable for you. Inhale up, and again, get that right hand is going to come back on an exhale to that chair or to the ground. Left hand reaches up towards the sky and lift up that left leg. Your core is really working here, tight core. Inhale all the way back up. Exhale down. And then come back to both knees. And if you're on your knees, go ahead and stand up, however is comfortable for you. Just sway out your hips. Really, Jet? Really? Okay, all right, you need to be done, buddy. Jet, you need to be done. Done, you're done. Good boy. From here, we're going to come up to standing. So if you are kneeling, however is easiest for you, I like to bring one foot to the floor, put my hands on that front thigh, tuck my back toes under, and then lift up. Go ahead and set your blanket and your chair off to the side. And then meet me back at the top of your mat into that mountain pose. And we'll come into chair pose from here. So first off, check your feet parallel, about hip width apart. Really root those feet down and maybe sway back and forth and side to side if you need to. Helps you find your center. And we'll come into chair pose. And if you have any balance issues, you can bring your chair right here to hold on to if you'd like to. Or have a wall nearby that you can hold on to. From mountain pose, we're going to sink back into chair pose. So from here, your rear end is going to go straight back. Maybe put some weight onto your heels, but then make sure that you're also bringing your toes down, and look down and make sure you can see your toes. So your hips, knees, and feet are all the same distance apart. And make sure your knees aren't knocking inwards. Rear end back. If you can't see your toes, it means that your knees are too far forward. So you really want to shift your weight backwards. Pretend like you're sitting into a chair. And then bring your arms right out in front of you. It's a nice counterbalance. And right here, just without even moving, you should really feel those legs kicking in. Notice what that feels like. Find your balance on your feet. And then we'll inhale, arms up high as we stand up. And then exhale as we sink back into that chair pose. Again, check your knees. Make sure you can look down and see your toes. From here, we're going to step back with one foot. So step back with your right foot into a high lunge. You're up on those back toes, and then your front knee is right over your front ankle. And we're going to do some knee dips here. So your arms can be wherever they need to be. You can bring your hands to your hips. You can be at heart center, arms out in front of you. We're going to bring that back knee to just within an inch of the ground. Down and up. We'll do 3 more. 2, 1. Come back up to this high lunge. And now what we're going to do is carry that back foot, and without stepping it to the ground, we're going to bring it up in front of us into a balancing pose. So if you need a chair or a wall to hold on to, go ahead. Shift your weight towards your front foot, and then put a little bend in that back knee as you bring it forward so that that knee comes right up in front of you at a 90-degree angle. You can hold on to something if you need to here. Hands on hips if that's comfortable for you. Otherwise, hold on to something. Flex that foot. Pop those toes up. And find your balance in that standing foot. It's going to be wobbly, and that's totally normal. That's just your body doing what it needs to do to keep your balance. From here, take your right hand on that right knee and open up. So you're taking that knee out towards the side and opening up that hip. Still balancing. And now bring that knee back to front. If you would like to try adding a twist here, you can. Bring your hands both in front of you. And then bring the opposite hand to the outside of that thigh and reach behind you. Into the standing balance twist. And both hands back to the front. And we'll step that foot back down. Mountain pose, and then sway it out. And take notice right now of what your hips feel like and what your legs feel like. Does one leg feel maybe warmer than the other or more stretched out than the other? Because we've only done one side, so it might feel very different. So now we'll come back to the opposite side. So from the top of your mat, find your mountain pose again. The heels and your balls of your feet are rooted into the mat. Go ahead and do a little sway if you need to. If that helps you find your center in your feet. Ground down. And then we'll take a big breath in and then sink back into that chair pose. And again, your feet, knees, and hips should all be the same distance apart. So if your feet are about 6 inches apart, your knees should be the same. Make sure you can look down and see your toes. You can bring your arms out in front of you if you'd like to. We'll take one big breath. Stand up. And then exhale back down into that chair pose. This time we'll step back with the opposite foot, the left foot, up on those back toes into that high lunge. Really shoot some energy at that back heel. That back leg is really strong and as straight as you can get it to be. You can bring your hands onto your hips if that's comfortable. Hold onto a chair or a wall if you need to. And we'll do 4 of those knee dips from here. So that back knee is just going to dip down to the ground, just within a couple of inches of the ground. So we'll do 4, 3, 2, 1, come back up nice and strong. And from here, what we're going to do is trying without touching that back foot to the ground, shift your weight into that front foot, and then step forward and bring that left foot right in front of you. You can have your arms out if that helps with balance. Hold onto a wall, hold onto a chair if you need to. This knee is at a 90-degree angle, and then that foot is flexed. So those toes are popping up. Notice your standing foot. It's going to be making a whole bunch of little micro adjustments for your balance here. Go ahead and take your arms wherever they need to be for your balance. Maybe here, maybe out, hands on hips. You decide where your arms go. And if you're comfortable with it, take this raised knee out to the side. So you're opening up through the front of that hip. Maybe feel a little inner thigh and groin stretch here. Stand up nice and tall and make sure that your shoulders aren't scrunched. So make some space between your shoulders and your ears. Then bring that knee back to the front. And if you'd like to try the twist, take your arms out. Take your arms out in front of you. Take the opposite hand to the outside of that raised knee. And then take that other arm behind you. Keep that foot active, that flexed raised foot. Make sure that it's not flopping. Keep it. Toes pointed up. Bring your hand back to the front. And then go ahead and set that foot down. And now sway side to side. Shake it out, wiggle it out, maybe do a couple of hula hoops. Feels really great on hips, and take notice of what your hips feel like here. How are they feeling? Does one now feel warmer than the other? We're gonna do now an IT band stretch. Your IT band connects up here, and it goes all the way down the outside of your knees and connects down here. And it can be really tight, and it can cause a lot of issues, bursitis, runner's knee. So this is one of my favorite IT band stretches. If you have your chair nearby, you can use that. Don't need to. So standing in mountain pose again. Stand up nice and tall, root your feet into the mat, and lower your shoulders down. We'll take one foot and cross it in front of the other one and bring it to the side. So turn sideways so you can see what this looks like. Take one foot over the front and cross it over. And I'm holding onto a wall here, so have a chair nearby, something that you need to hold on to. And bring that heel down to the ground. And your feet aren't going to line up perfectly. That's not going to happen. But from here, put your hands on your hips and breathe up tall. And then we're going to just pivot forward at the hips. And maybe bring your hands to your thighs, to your shins, maybe onto yoga blocks or onto that chair. And notice if you feel a stretch in the outside hip of the leg that's in the back. The goal here is not to get your hands to the ground. The goal here is to feel a stretch in your hips. So if you only come down part way and you feel that stretch, then that's where you need to be. You don't need to go further than that. And take a deep breath here, full breath in. Use your belly to breathe in. And then use your belly to exhale. Press that belly button all the way into your spine. And then very gently come back up. And release that leg. We'll switch sides. So roll out your ankles for a moment. And we'll come to the opposite side. So plant both feet to the ground. This time take the opposite leg in front and over to the side. Have something to hold on to if you need to. My balance is off today because I have really bad allergies and it makes my ears all swishy. From here, breathe up nice and tall, hands on hips. Just notice as you breathe in, lift. And then pivoting at the hips, take it forward. Maybe hands to thighs, maybe down to shins. And it might feel very different from side to side. It's totally normal if one side feels tighter than the other. Try to keep that nice flat back. So glide your shoulder blades towards your tailbone and don't let your shoulders scrunch up by your ears. Deep breath here. Really feel your ribs expanding. This is a great place to feel that breath while we're stretching. And then we'll come back up on an inhale, loosen that up. And we'll end with some inner thigh work since we're working on legs today. Take your legs wide, about one leg's distance between your legs. You can adjust as needed. Feet out at a 45-degree angle. We're gonna come into like a sumo wrestler squat here. Make sure that your knees are tracking directly over your toes. So make sure that your knees aren't knocking inwards. They wanna go in the same direction. So really feel your inner thighs kicking in here. We'll do 4 moonflowers. So as you inhale, straighten your knees and bring your arms up towards the ceiling into a 5-point star. And then as you exhale, we're going to come back into that deep squat and bring your elbows down towards your side ribs. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Come down really deep. You can do it. Come down an inch further. Inhale up. We'll do 3 more. Exhale as you squeeze those shoulder blades together. Come down into that deep squat. Inhale up. 2 more. Bring those elbows down. Make sure your knees are tracking over your toes. Last one. Nice and slow. Take it really slow and notice those inner thighs. Really working here. Inhale back up. And from here, bring your hands to your hips and we're going to come into a forward fold. So now, instead of your feet at 45 degrees, bring your toes parallel to each other or maybe even a little pigeon-toed. You can bring your toes a little bit in towards each other, hands on hips. And before we lean over, I want you to take a deep breath and feel your spine lengthen. And then pivot forward at the hips. Maybe your hands come down to that chair. Maybe onto yoga blocks, maybe the floor. Everybody has very different flexibility. You do what works best for you. You can adjust your feet if you need to. You can take them further out or bring them closer together. Just feel a nice hamstring stretch right here. And that flat back. Check your shoulders and make sure that your shoulders are not bunched up by your ears. And then walk over towards your right side, so either to your thigh, to your shin, to your ankle. We'll go for a hamstring stretch on that right leg with a little bit of a twist added into it. So as you do this, maybe notice a stretch in your left side ribs. Then we'll walk our hands back to center and then over to the opposite side. So towards your left thigh, shin, foot, whatever feels best for you. And then notice your right ribs. Notice that stretch as well as the hamstring. And then walk your hands back to center. With hands on hips, we're going to use our core muscles and our back muscles to lift up. So a nice long spine, hands on hips. And lift back up. Heel toe your feet back together again. Shake it out. And then we're going to come down to the mat and do a little twist and we'll be done. So if you have any knee issues, you can get down onto a seated position on the mat, however is comfortable for you. Otherwise, join me and we're going to use that chair pose again and we're going to take it really low to get down to the ground. So find your mountain pose. Your feet are really rooted into the mat and your knees are the same width apart as your feet are. We'll come into that deep squat, chair pose right here. And you notice when you come into chair pose, you kind of shift your weight towards your heels, so make sure that your toes also find the balance, the balls of your feet. You can take your hands out in front of you and we're going to very, very slowly lower all the way down until our rear end comes towards the ground. If you have any knee issues, go ahead and sit down whatever way is comfortable for you. So really slow. That chair, we're going to take it all the way down. Try to keep the balls of your feet and your heels rooted into the mat all the way down. And then from here, you can take your hands to the mat and come into butterfly pose. So seated, however's comfortable for you. You can put yoga blocks or blankets under your knees if you need to. Butterfly pose, your knees are out, soles of your feet are together. Step nice and tall. Lower your shoulders down. Maybe sway side to side a little bit here or however feels good to you. And you can adjust how close or how far away your heels are. And then we'll take one leg out long and the sole of that other foot to the inner thigh. And then we're going to switch our torso towards that extended foot. And we're just going to gently breathe in tall first. Take a big breath in. And then keeping that nice tall spine, we're going to just walk towards that extended leg. However far you can. If you just come to your thigh and you feel a stretch, that's fine. You can also prop up this bent knee. If that hurts at your knee, prop something up underneath it and bring it up a little bit. That helps. Otherwise, take a big exhale and walk your way down. Then maybe as you breathe in, lift up just slightly. And then on your next exhale, just see if you can walk down a little further. We're using our exhale here to add to the stretch. Get to a spot where you feel comfortable. You can always prop up your forearms on yoga blocks. Use that exhale to keep coming further into that stretch. Go ahead and dip your chin. Find length in the back of your neck. And then from here, wherever you're at along your leg, it doesn't matter where. My right leg is extended, so my right hand I'm going to bring to the inside. Maybe inside of my shin, maybe the inside of my ankle. And I'm going to reach up with that opposite arm into a nice stretch. If you'd like to try this with that hand, you could put it on the ground in front of you and use it to kind of press up a little bit more. So in this case, we're pressing down to rise up. And bring both hands back down, and we're going to shift to the opposite side. So go ahead and that straight leg, bend it. We'll switch, straighten out that other leg, bring the sole of this foot to the inner thigh, sit up nice and tall, and then we're going to shift our torso towards that extended leg. Make any adjustments that you need to get comfortable here. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to walk down this leg. So breathe up nice and tall first. Inhale, feel your spine lengthen upwards. And then make sure you're aiming towards that extended foot. Go ahead and walk down here. And do this in stages. We'll take several breaths here. So as you need to, inhale, rise up a little bit, and then exhale. See if you can come a little bit deeper into that fold. Use the exhale to add to your stretch. We're all very, very different, so this is going to look and feel very different for all of us. Again, you have the option to have yoga blocks here and bring your hands or your forearms onto a yoga block. Dip your chin. Lengthen the back of your neck. Feel that nice stretch down the back of your neck, maybe into your shoulders. Take some deep breaths here and really notice what your breath feels like in your back ribs. Can you feel your shoulder blades spreading apart and then coming back together as you breathe in and out? And then we'll do that little twist again. So my left leg is extended. I'll put my left hand on that shin, ankle, wherever is comfortable for you, and raise that opposite arm up overhead. You can look up if it's comfortable. Otherwise, keep your neck just in a neutral position. Then if you'd like to add to that, you can take that hand and press it into the mat and really press down to help you rise up higher. See if that adds to the stretch in your side. And we'll bring both hands back to the mat, and we're going to come to lying down. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to get there. Come onto your both sit bones right at about the center of the mat. Hold onto your thighs in the back and go ahead and just roll down. If you'd like to use your core, you don't have to hold onto your thighs, and you can just very slowly lower down. Get a little bit more core work in here. And laying down, we're going to come into a twist and just relax. So take both soles of your feet to the mat, knees up, lift up your hips about an inch, shift them about 3 inches to the left, and let both knees fall over to the right. Just make sure that your knees fall over into the direction that's opposite of the way that you shifted your hips. Maybe put that hand right on the thigh, add a little bit to the stretch. You can add a yoga block or blanket between your knees or under both knees if you need to. And then reach that opposite hand up overhead, palm up towards the ceiling. Take some deep breaths here and just really enjoy settling into this twist. Feel the ground beneath you. Try to keep both shoulder blades rooted into the mat. So both shoulders are down, but that one hip is popped up. Take some deep breaths and notice your belly here. Just let your belly really help with that breathing in and out. Bring both knees back up to the top and re-shift your hips. Find your center line again since we did that shift. Take your feet wide to the edges of the mat and both knees to the right, to the left. And we'll do the opposite side. So bring your feet back to the center. Lift your hips up to 1 inch and shift them about 3 inches to the right. Then let both knees fall to the left. So your knees fall into the opposite direction of the way you shifted your hips. Maybe that hand comes down on that thigh, really gently adding some traction. You can prop a blanket or yoga block between your knees or under both knees. Both shoulders are rooted into the mat, so both shoulder blades are connecting with the mat, but this hip pops up. If you'd like to, you can take that opposite arm, bring it up overhead, palm up. Add a little bit of a stretch here. And again, let's bring our focus back to our breath. Notice your ribs moving as you breathe. And go ahead and really use your belly here to pull air in and then press air out. Take full deep breaths and then complete exhales. And then we'll come back to center. So go ahead and you can use that hand to bring your knees back up, soles of your feet to the mat, lift up your hips and find your center again. Find that perfect middle line. Again, take your feet wide towards the edges of the mat and lift like right. Just reset our hands and our spine when you're doing that twist. I'll invite you to just find whatever pose you would like to come into for final relaxation. If you want to stay right here with your knees bent, you're welcome to do so. If you do that, take your feet wide and let your knees knock together so that your legs are kind of in a pyramid shape. You can take your legs long. You can roll over onto your side. Find any spot where you can just come to stillness for a couple of minutes. Just really relax. In whatever pose you're in, feel the ground beneath you. If you'd like to, you can take one hand to your belly and one hand to your chest. It's up to you. And we'll do 3 really deep breaths together. And then I'll leave you in silence for a minute. So wherever you're at, press all of the air out of your lungs. And then inhale, starting with belly first. Belly, ribs, and then up into your collarbones. And then exhale, let your collarbones go. And then your ribs, and then use your belly to press all that last bit of air out. We'll do that 3 more times. Breathe in, belly first, ribs, collarbones. And then as you exhale, relax your legs, relax your feet, let your hips release tension. Again, a full inhale, belly first, ribs, all the way into your collarbones. And as you release that, relax your shoulders, relax your hands and your fingers. Last deep breath together, belly first, ribs, chest and collarbones. And as you release that air, relax your forehead, relax your eyes, relax your lower jaw. Make sure you're not clenching your teeth. Even let your tongue relax to the back of your mouth. And then just come to your normal breath here, whatever your natural rhythm is, and allow yourself a minute of just stillness and silence. Your eyes can be open or closed, whichever is comfortable for you. Give yourself permission to just not do anything for a moment, and then we'll come back together. As you're ready, you're welcome to finish this with me, or if you're in a really comfortable state and you feel really good, you're welcome to just stay right where you're at and not sit up. It's your choice, but if you'd like to come up with me, go ahead and roll over onto one side and take a moment here. Just take a breath. And then use your hands and arms to press yourself back up. Come into a seated position. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed if you'd like. Come to seated in whatever position feels good for you. Cross-legged, butterfly pose, anything at all. Breathe up nice and tall, and then as you breathe up, root your sit bones into the mat. Just find that grounding, that connection with the ground beneath you. And then we'll do 2 breaths together. Inhale, circle arms up overhead. Exhale, press all the air out slowly. Press your hands back down to the ground. One more inhale up. Bring palms together. Exhale, back down through hands through heart center. And namaste. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you for taking time to take care of yourself. Thanks for meeting me on my mat.